Hello friends, today we'll look into a LeetCode question called the number of islands. This is an important question which is asked in the coding interviews of product companies including Amazon, Walmart, Facebook and mostly a plenty of the product companies. Let's get going reading into the question. So a M cross N two-dimensional matrix is given which is a grid map which consists of ones which indicates land and zeros which indicates water. Our given task is to return the number of islands. And how do you find which is an island? An island is surrounded by water and is formed by connecting adjacent lands horizontally or vertically. You may assume all four edges of the grid are all surrounded by water. Let's look into an example. So the grid consists of 4 cross 4 matrix which is of one, which consists of ones and zeros. So this is the given entrance and the output is 1. So how did they have they stated it as 1? An island is surrounded by water and is formed by connecting adjacent lands horizontally or vertically. So this whole thing is a single island which is surrounded by water. How do you say it is water? Since this both this is connected vertically and this is connected horizontally, both it is an island. So since these both are connected, it's an island. Since these two ones are connected, it is an island. Since these are connected to, so it is wholly a single island with water in the middle. That's how you've got to ideally imagine it. I think it would be more appropriate if you could read through this and find out the output. So how it works is that this is the grid. This 4 1 1 1 1, these 4 is a single island. This is a single island which consists of water on the top, on the left, on the right and below. So this is another island 1 2, and this is another island which has water above, which has water towards the left. So this is how it is. Let's get going with a solution. So they've given out only the question and we'll write answers to it. So given a function called num_islands which returns an integer and the grid of array of character array is passed. Yeah. So first thing, I always have this idea of following helper functions. So we'll get going with it. So in case the grid consists of is null or the grid dot length is double equals to 0, we'll have to return 0. Since there's nothing, we don't have to work plenty around it. If it is null or the length is equals to 0, just simply return 0. And obviously before we start, we'll have a function which counts the number of islands. So number of islands is equals to 0. Yeah. So we'll have a nested for loop which would traverse through the whole of the array. We'll have to move through the complete array to find the solution. So we'll have a nested for loop for int I equals to 0, I less than grid dot length, I plus plus, for int j equals 0, j less than grid of I dot length, I plus plus, sorry, j plus plus. And how do you find? So how do you find whether it is an island? If it is 0, we don't have to bother it. Only if it is 1, we'll have to take it into a consideration. And if it is a 1, we'll have to backtrack things, since this all complete thing is a single island which consists of water in the middle. So we'll have to, this cannot be considered as a separate island. This cannot be considered as a separate island. This whole completely is a single island. So we'll have to backtrack things. in case the grid dot length is 1, we should not count this as a separate island, this as a separate island. So we could find the solution using backtracking. We could either use breadth first search or depth first search. We'll use depth first search for this solution. So if grid of I and j is double equals to 1, only if it is 1 we'll have to get into it, and we'll have to, if it is 1 we'll have to increment the number of islands by 1. Before that, I think we'll have to backtrack if the what are the adjacent numbers which is to be found out, so that we don't increment for every ones that we pass through. So yeah, so number of islands is equals to, we'll have a helper function called dfs, and we'll pass through the grid, the I and the j. Yeah, and then finally we'll return the number of islands. And let's get going with the helper function. Public with the return type int, and the helper function dfs, the character array of grid, int I comma int j. And here we'll check through. Here we'll have to find out we should never move out of this array towards the left or neither towards the right. So we'll have a helper text here. So if I is less than 0, which is for I is less than 0, if we move towards the extreme left without after this, and then I is greater than or equal to grid dot length, if we move towards the extreme right, or j is less than 0. Yeah, here it is also less than 0. I is less than 0, I greater than or equal to grid dot length towards the right, j less than 0 towards the left, and j greater than or equal to grid dot length. And we should not take notice of, it should now never be a 0. So since we don't have to work with around zeros, so we'll have include that too. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, here it's a spelling mistake. Yeah, grid dot length. Yeah, so in this case we'll have to just return 0. Grid of I and j is equals to 0. This is done such that we don't count every once. We don't count this as a separate one, this as a separate island, this as a separate island. So we'll make it the grid of ij as 0, and bring in the recursive function of helper text dfs, and pass grid and grid I plus 1 comma j. This is to find what is below. If the adjacent below these two ones are if there is an island or if it is water, dfs of grid of I minus 1 comma j. This is used to find out the adjacent above, grid of I comma j plus 1, dfs of grid of I comma j minus 1, and finally we'll return 1 if this condition passes. Yeah, so let's run the code. Yeah, so the solution is accepted. Let's submit it. Just java.lang.array out of bound exception at line 22. Yeah, so what is it? If I is less than 0, yeah, right. I is greater than or equal to grid.length, j is less than 0. Yeah, yeah, here is it. J is less than grid of I dot length less than 0. So submit it. Yeah, beautiful. So the solution is accepted, and let's check what's the time complexity of it. Yeah, so our runtime distribution is among the best. Our runtime beats 100% of Java submissions. Yeah, and our memory utilization is above 78.15% of Java submissions. Okay, beautiful. So today we've solved number of islands, a LeetCode problem. Let's meet with another question of dynamic programming as soon as possible. Thank you. Do like, comment, and share.